Welcome back, everybody. Welcome, Mika. Good to see you. And thanks for reminding me to, by your very presence, on Tuesday you told me to switch to live chat, so I've done that today. And Mika, I'm actually working on your idea. So for those that are new to the stream, my husband and I have been building a game engine in C++ just for fun since like 2019. And we're finally using it to make a commercial game, our first commercial game. And what we are working on today is, it'll be easier to show you. We're going to do some coding today. It'll be a little bit of a breakup from what we have been doing, which is some 3D modeling, which I very highly doubt we'll get to any of that today. Except I'll be coding the night away. But in the game, it's going to be the important part for this discussion is going to be hi, KDA Kicker, welcome to the stream. So the game will be a dungeon crawler deck builder, but the important part of the conversation is that the player's hands will always be up. It's a first-person experience, so the player's hands will always be up on the screen. And I'm not a very good animator. Well, see, I don't even know why the staff is here. That's so new. Anyway, so the player's hands will be on the screen. And in my current state, I think I removed the hand anyway, so you can't see it. But imagine that there's a hand here. And imagine that in order to get this staff animated with the hand, I had to first animate the hand. And then in Blender, I parented the staff to the hand. And then I animated the hand. And then I went and I baked those animations into the action for the staff, like by the visual keys. And then I exported the staff animation. And after surviving all of that, it was still out of sync by probably half a second or maybe a fraction of a second. And then Mika, Stream OG, said, well, why don't you just add a feature to your engine that just parents the game object to a given socket bone. And then I wouldn't have to do any animations for any weapons, which is tremendous. Hey, Michael Soriano, welcome to the stream. Hey, you're welcome. Thanks for joining. You can go back if you want to hear what I'm working on today, because I'm explaining it now, but that is what I'm embarking on today. So the math itself is easy enough. What I need to do is I need to get the same, so I need to get the bones transformation in mesh local space, which I've actually already done for the skeletal animation. And you have to get that. In order to do that, you kind of have to like walk the bone hierarchy all the way back to the root bone. So I've already done all that in skeletal animation. But then once I have the bones, that calculated final bone transform, I just need to apply my game object transform by it, recursing through any child nodes that I have starting at the root. So that's the easy part. And what I was struggling with Tuesday night and then Thursday is just incorporating it into the game engine. Oh, this is the game. We're going to close that. So we don't keep making that mistake. But I will walk through my current strategy and what I've been doing so far. So I need a new component. And the component I've called BoneSnapper, just because it's very hardcore and metal. Makes me feel cool saying it. Makes me feel clever. This is called BoneSnapper. And let's find that interface. Where is it? Oh, I've already committed. That's right, I committed something already. Okay, so BoneSnapper just has, this is a component in our ECS, it just has a bone name and then the target entity. And what I spent all of today doing. Hi, Saskifsk. Can you give me a phonetic spelling of your, or pronunciation of your name, Saskifsk? I'm having a very hard time with that one. Welcome to the stream. So the BoneSnapper component has the name of the bone that I want the socket to, and then the target, the entity that has the animation component or the rig, the skinned mesh component that has that bone in it. Sasky will do. Oh, Sasky FX. Gotcha. I will call you Sasky. So my strategy here is just API wise, if a user wants to add this snapping effect, they will take their staff, in our example, their staff entity, they'll add a BoneSnapper component, and then they will target the hand, and then they will choose the name of the socket bone. So maybe I'll make a brief little... Oops. How do you make a new file? Well, okay, I'll just put it here because this is kind of the root of everything, so I'll get rid of it eventually. So what we have to do left. Let's just do actually strategy here. It's been updated, I think, since our chaotic paint document here that we made on Tuesday. Shoot said, oh, welcome to the stream, Shoot. I'm a music producer for video games. If we can collab, if you ever need music or atmosphere here for games, we can get in touch. Thank you. My husband makes music, which is really a very fortunate coincidence for me. But what I will probably end up needing is voice actors. And potentially someone to do like environmental, like atmospheric stuff. Potentially. I don't know if we're going to pay anybody. There's always the age-old design, or the age-old question of, do I pay someone to do something, or do I just do either A, a bad job myself, or B, invest a lot of time to do a semi-decent job of doing something. I have no aspirations to ever do anything musical myself for any game project. That's just too high of a skill tree, and it's not interesting to me personally. It's too hard. But, and same with voice acting. Maybe until I get my braces off and I don't have a lisp anymore. I have like the slightest lisp. Especially, what cruel bastard put a hard S in the word lisp? But eventually, when I get these puppies off, I will probably practice doing some voice acting just to get over that. Like, that seems terrifying to me, but I'll probably practice doing some voice acting to because we're gonna need some voices. Do you guys remember in like the early and mid 90s games like Ultima? And I don't remember this, I've just been playing these games lately, but how they have like a narrator that's just like has this like booming epic narrator voice. Oh, sorry, I got distracted. I was telling my husband that I'm like absolutely crashing out today as far as my ability to focus. I don't really know what is in the water, but I expect generally I don't get a lot done in my streams, but I think this will be an absolute colossal nightmare of not getting anything done and just getting distracted and talking on stream, but we'll see. What I was saying about the... Oh, I really want for this game to give it like that 90s vibe, the early 90s vibe. I want to find someone that can talk like, who is the narrator of the Twilight Zone? Rod Serling. They can talk like Rod Serling. And kind of, because if you notice in audiobooks that were recorded in the 70s, like the science fiction audiobooks and fantasy audiobooks, that's the voice that they use. And that's the vibe I'm going for. But I don't know anyone that can affect their voice like that. So I need to find a good voice actor. I know this is random. You are in the right place for random today. I don't know if we're gonna have any linear path today. I know this is random, but any quick advice for junior software engineering student? I ask this because I love C and C++, and you are using C++. Max Headroom. Okay. My husband showed me Max Headroom a really long time ago. Does he talk like Rod Serling? when I think of Max Headroom, I think of Johnny Bravo. That's like somehow those two images got conflated. Let's see if they're actually. Hold on. Let's do Johnny Bravo. And let's do Max Headroom. Yeah, I can see it. I can see it. Actually, I absolutely understand why I get those two guys conflated. They are the same guy. Okay, but Sasky, what kind of advice are you looking for? If you're just looking for general, like if you're looking for general advice, I would say what I wish I would have known as a CSI student was that the most important thing you learn both that I've learned both at school and in my job is that the skill you have to develop is pushing through frustrations and failures, and like that is the arc of this career and hobby. So if you can tolerate being very frustrated long enough to be able to mine the dopamine hit at the end of solving your problem, and if you like that, that's all there is. Not all there is, but that's to me what the core game loop of programming is. It's like get really excited about something, start working on it, and then stumble upon something that's hard as fuck, and then get really frustrated, and then you solve it, and you feel like a god, and then you just rinse, repeat. But like if you can survive the parts that really suck and feeling like you're an idiot, and like today when I couldn't figure out why there isn't like what the replacement is for first or default, the link first or default in stood ranges library for C++. I was getting really frustrated. If you could just tolerate that, then you can be an excellent programmer or really good at anything in life. Yeah, I agree, Ethan. Ethan and Code, welcome to the stream, by the way. Kicker is saying that I'll be playing Resident Evil 5 while I listen to you. This looks really interesting. I'll try to learn from you. I'm not a native speaker of English, so some words escape from me, but I'll be here more regularly. Awesome. That's good to hear. Welcome. Braveheart 6676, welcome to the stream. Just here to say hi, good luck with your tasks. Thank you. All right. So the strategy is, maybe we'll make a little checkbox here. So add component that it's the name of the target bone to snap to, and the entity, the with the skinned mesh that contains the bones. Done. Then we need to rebuild the mapping between bone name and, actually I don't think it never existed, so build the mapping between bone name and final animated transform for the bone. That's already done, but done poorly. I'm going to give it like a, do this because could be improved, and you'll see what I mean here in a second. Another piece of advice that I have, Sasky, that has always proved me very well is don't let perfect be the enemy of good. Or no, what is that the saying? Don't let perfect be the enemy of good enough. Yeah. And that goes hand in hand with do it poorly and then do it right. So do it poorly first. I think the meme these days is just make it exist first and then make it good. I am a very very avoidant person, I think. I can be. And so I escape from the things that stress me out by like fantasizing about how good I'm going to be at C++. And then when I actually try C++ and it's hard and frustrating, I think like, oh, I'm just not going to do it then because I'm not good at it right away. And trying to overcome that, if you can just let yourself be at like at some stage of learning forever, then literally nothing can stop you, because you're always learning, so you can make mistakes, and it's okay because people that are learning make mistakes. And watch out for undefined behavior, says Polly Josu. Very good, very good advice. Dangerous Bob Studio LLC. That's a great name for a game studio. Welcome to the stream. It's a really good way to describe game dev gameplay loop. Yeah, if that's how it has always felt to me. And the 80-20 rule. Yeah. That is so 80-20 rule. 80-20 rule can apply to a lot of things, but I bet, based on what I was just saying, you're applying it to go for, so I've typically heard it with like the 80% of it, 80% of the functionality takes 20% of the time, and then the remaining 20% of the functionality takes 80% of the time. But I've also heard like applying it to what I was just saying. You could mean, Dangerous Bob could mean like go for the 80%. Don't try to don't try to max out that 100%. Mika says, did you come up with that yourself? Because I often say to myself, make it work first and then make it pretty later. Mika, the thing you're all gonna find out about me is one of my toxic traits is I remember the intuition behind something but not the details. And so I've noticed I cannot change this about myself, so I just have to learn to embrace it, but I will just like spout out metaphors and idioms in the English language that are malformed. You just I think most people can understand the intent behind my idioms. But yeah, that's just, I've always done that. I always will. Katie Kicker says, I'll give you a little gamer perspective. If I were a game developer, I would give my game a chance to be completely moddable for gamers. This is the bait. A replayable game is, yeah, I agree. We're still thinking about that, but that's very, very good advice. I agree, Bali Josu. Oh, and Eric Anderson, welcome back to the stream. How are you? When it comes to software design, do you find yourself doing more top-down design or bottom-up? I find I've been trying to be a more organized person when it comes to software design, but I almost always find myself going from the user inward. So I guess that would be top down, rather than from the bottom up. My husband seems to be a bottom upper, but I'm like, I go from, okay, well, what will the editor widget look like for this component is the very first thing I think about, and what are the inputs to the system going to be? And from there, I think, okay, well, what are the systems that I actually need to pull in and pass these things down? I'm definitely a top downer. I feel like this is just either imposter syndrome or bias, but I feel like I have an impression that bottom uppers are better programmers than top downers. But those are the bad thoughts, and I just push them out of my head. Oh, so Eric Anderson says, do you start with the main and then implement from your comments, or make sure your basic functions work really well? I don't know. Usually if I'm designing something, I'll come up with something like this, like a very rough guide of how it's going to go, and then I start making functions, and then I club them together. And Mika says, no, I just thought it was my own wisdom, and now I'm doubting if it came from... Oh, that's definitely the make it exist first to make it better later is shared wisdom. Oh, yeah. Yeah, you know what I've been doing lately, Bali Josu? One of the very first things after I did this. Look at what I did. Oh, wait. BoneSnapper subsystem tests. I do this right away, and this I don't actually have tests here. All I have is the mocking of my data for my tests. But this took me all of this morning. I woke up at 4, or I woke up really early this morning, and 4 went on the gym, or 4, I did not go to the gym, and instead I just spent the entire morning painstakingly mocking out the systems I need to be able to test. Right now I only have one method in my BoneSnapper subsystem that I'm actually working right now, and I'm not entirely sure what I needed to do yet. I think I do. So actually I probably could write unit tests right now, but I know that if I don't do this, the actual setting up of the gtest file, that I'm just not going to write the unit test. So that's something I also highly recommend. Sasky is unit testing your code. Yeah, I know. I think bottom-uppers have the upper hand. No pun intended. And what would you say are some good places to start on C++? Oh, I don't know. I think it depends on what you want to do. What do you want to do? If you're a learn by doer, I'm a learn by doer, so just start making a small project in C++, like I would start with if you're an absolute beginner, I would start with Hello World and just like learn how to set up your compiler and how to set up a boilerplate program. And then I would make something still in just the console. I would make something like, is it even or odd, like a guessing game? Something with conditionals. But then, I mean, after that, it really just depends on where you want to go. As far as resources, that's an easier one to answer. Effective modern C++. PowerBot. Now I gotta speak for the tops. I think there's nothing wrong with top-down as long as you get the same results. Okay, Effective Modern C++ is a great book, and then Casey Moratori does a series called Handmade Hero. That is where he makes a game like from scratch, and I think it's C++, or is it C? I can't remember. And then who does that? Why am I forgetting his name? There's an absolute wizard, Jason Turner. Just Google Jason Turner. He does YouTube videos about C++ all the time. And TomTom says, oh, I lost it. Game dev for me became a rabbit hole. I'd moved from trains to clouds to voxels to ray tracing. Yeah, I know. It's very, very, very hard to stay on track. And Tom and Ethan wonder, do I write all the code myself? No AI involved. And the slightly different version of the question, do I use any help from AI while programming? I do not. In general, no, I do not use AI, but the other day I had a CMake problem and I could not figure it out, so I will ask ChatGPT. I'm not opposed to asking ChatGPT, like, hey, for the life of me, I can't get my CMake kit to be discovered. Can you help me figure out why? And then it'll give you answers and you work through it. I think ChatGPT is an excellent replacement for Google. But at this part in my learning career, because someone said I'm an expert, I'm not an expert by any means. I just want to continue learning. So that's my stance on that. All right. So, okay. Oh, I already have I think I'd started. Well, okay. So build the mapping between bone name and final animated transform for the bone. We have done that. kind of. I put a dash there because it's not exactly, not happy with it, and I'll show you guys that in a minute. Then cache. Well, I guess that kind of is part 2, or is the second step. So now we need to have the final animated transform accessible in the subsystem, which we've done. Then for each BoneSnapper on update, we need to validate the BoneSnapper has that the BoneSnapper's target entity has a skinned mesh. Validate that the skinned mesh has a bone with a given bone name. Then we need to crawl down the hierarchy, updating object transforms by multiplying by the transformation matrix. Bones animated transform. Starting with the root, then commit changes to the transforms. Then, so that's like the loop, and then to-dos that we need to write unit testing. Right, unit tests for let's just get into this right now. So entity does not have a mesh. Skip that entity. Target entity does not have that bone. That entity. Then we want oh, this is gonna be a real bummer to do this one, but bone names are out of sync with bone transforms. We want to throw, and this will be in bone cache. I'm really not going to enjoy doing that one. Then we want to parent and child both. So happy path is that the entity transform is moved by the correct transformation matrix. Entity with children. What did I think about that? Okay, let me talk this through. So if I need to get paint back up here. Okay, so back in our example, I just have to think about this because let's say we have our hand example. And our bone is right here. And then we have a sword that we are going to parent here. So the parent's origin is here, and that will snap to the bone. So when the bone is translated, let's just say 1 unit to the right, we want to translate the sword. Oh, yeah. We want to translate the sword 1 unit to the right, which that's what we're doing right now. But say we have, I think I had made a mistake here, because say we have a particle system that's parented to the sword, this right here. When the sword moves, okay. Okay, so when the hand moves, we're going to then offset the transform of the sword by the hand. But then that will, because the particle system is already parented to the sword's origin, we don't need to then also offset the children. I don't think we do. CMake reminds me of Bash. CMake is a pain. Just whenever I feel like I'm getting confident in CMake, I get slammed. AI is not here yet. Yesterday, my AI foot gunned itself, and today, with me, spent the whole day trying to figure out what broke. Ugh. Do you think it's possible to create old PS1 games with AI? Yeah, I think so. I mean, we are using AI to write VB.NET code, so anything's possible. I mean, VB.NET is contemporary with PS1. Yeah, if we're just talking training data, I'm sure that one, and what specifically, what was a PS1 game written in? My friend has a Net Yarose, that a dev kit for the PS1, but I don't remember if he told me what language PS1 was written. Wasn't it just C? And you can go, I thought it was just C, and then you can go, the AI could scrape Wikipedia for like hardware requirements and soft caps of memory or hard caps of memory and stuff. Anyway, we don't need to, I don't think we want to apply the transform of the bone to everything in the hierarchy. I think we just want to apply it to the entity that the snapper's on. So that'll be even easier. Oh my gosh, that'll be easy. Okay, so I don't think we want to do that. I think we just want to apply the... Mika, when you did this, and I could just look at the code snippet that you gave me, but you don't want to crawl down the hierarchy. I don't think you do. I think you just want to apply it to the root. Apply the bones transformation matrix to the transform with children. Yeah, because the children's transform is unaffected because we want it's still local to the parent. Okay, and then what else do we want to do? Then we also need to add editor widget. Ideally, we select an entity, and then enumerate the bone names on that entity in a selection. Be so cool if we could add a debug widget that would then color each bone like x-ray through the mesh, but nah, that's not needed. Yeah, I think that's about what we need to do. Okay, so next. Validate the BoneSnapper's target entity as a skinned mesh. So where's my subsystem? Oh, another tip that I read one time, especially if you have attention problems, like I do, is try to keep your working tabs very low. Just keep them on the thing that you're looking for and make use of like the just file navigation tools. The code crawls the hierarchy once and later uses the cache. Oh, yeah, okay, Meek, I'm not talking about, so I'm not talking about, so we have like arm, and then hand. So you know how you have like your root node, and you have to apply if you're getting like, if these are your bones. And this one's a child of this one is a child of this one. I'm not talking about this hierarchy. I'm talking about for the entity that the BoneSnapper is going to be attached to, like the weapon. If the weapon itself has children, I don't think I need to crawl that hierarchy and apply like, because I have already walked this hierarchy and done the caching. So I have this already, this transform. But what I'm wondering is, do I need to apply this transform to the sword and its children? I don't think I do. I think I just apply it to the parent. MS Paint dev notes, yeah. Bone snapping? Okay, I will show you, Eric. Really briefly. Because it is at the beginning of the stream if anyone's interested, but I do like showing people. So my workflow for creating my hands and the weapons that they're going to be holding was super involved and painstaking because so I don't actually have the hand isn't visible right now, but imagine that there's a hand on the staff. So my workflow was animate, so in Blender, take the staff and then parent it, snap it to the hand. So then when I'm animating the hand, the staff comes too. And then bake that animation onto the staff and then export it as a separate animation. And what I found was that it's like out of sync by a couple of frames at least, but it's visibly out of sync. So then Mika said, why don't you just add a feature to the game engine where you can allow your game object to snap to the bone of another mesh? Because do we have a good example? No, we really don't. But if we were to parent, let's say like we parent, well, let's just say we have a hand and a sword. If I were to parent the sword to the hand right now, we have that works perfectly fine until you get animations involved, because the animation doesn't actually affect the transform at all. And I was talking to my husband about it yesterday morning, and the work that I'm doing is not intended to work with physics because we're not like doing anything with the rigid bodies. So it's pretty limited in its reach, but the idea is to have an optional BoneSnapper component that will snap whatever entity it's on, its origin to the actual target bone, so that when the bone moves, the transform itself will move. Oh yeah, okay, thanks, Mika. Yeah, on the MS Paint notes, I really find that I'm a visual learner, and I'm trying to find my really nice networking diagram that I made. It really helps me to have visual notes. I think it's this one. Yeah, okay. So, maybe 3 months ago or so, maybe 6 months ago, my husband abandoned the game and the engine, or maybe just I don't think I was working the game. Right around the time I started working the game, he hung up his hat and didn't want to program anymore, or just take a long sabbatical. So then I couldn't lean on him anymore, and so then I had to get really detailed. So I made this map of all the game objects. So these are all our game states that we have, and then these are all the dictionary objects that we have. And then this is our my first pass at the network architecture. And this was working. I got this all implemented, but then he came in and saw how much I was struggling and like rewrote 98% of the networking. So it's so much more robust now. But I really enjoy Paint. Okay. Yeah. Oh, Blender. I've never learned how to do grease pencil in Blender. Oh, no, that would be so cool, Eric. I found a mesh splitter component one time this is back like 10 years ago when I was still working on Unity, and it was so cool. It was just someone's custom thing they had done their thesis project on for school, but it like allowed you just to like basically like lightsaber through meshes and chop them. And it would have been I almost started making I think I did start making a lumberjack game out of that because it was just so fun to chop stuff, and it was like fully physics enabled, so you could if you chopped like a cylinder with a rigid body in half, like say you went like then the two cylinders would like it wouldn't be a cylinder anymore, it'd be like a cylinder with a very acute angle, and then it would tumble. We're not doing anything like that. That would be cool. Okay, so yeah, what I'm trying to do at this exact moment is work my way through my to-do list, but specifically this one, validate that the BoneSnapper's target entity has a skinned mesh. So we're looking for ECS dot. That was easy enough. So parent entity. Oh, not the parent entity though. That's already wrong. Oh, target entity. I just said it wrong. I wrote it down right. Okay, so yeah, this is not the right code. So the bone, it's gonna look like this. We're gonna have an entity, and inside of that entity we'll have a BoneSnapper, and it will have a socket 01, and it will also have a my other entity handle. And what we're doing in this is we are iterating through all the components with BoneSnappers on them right now. So we want to get the parent entity. So that is is it get parent? Yeah. Okay, so ECS get parent BoneSnapper. Yeah, it was a mesh splitter physics paper, and it was super cool. Why are you mad? Oh, you're mad because they don't like my ramblings being written down without a comment around them. Okay, so we have our parent entity, and what we want to do is we want to see if the parent entity contains a skinned mesh. So, but okay, if this contains, return the object. This is one thing that C# will always trump C++ in, is it's just a much better, the standard library is lacking. Where is the entity class? And this could just be my setup, but like in VS Code with C++, if I F12, I don't even F12. I just have to search by text. Oh, Monty, welcome back. I don't know if I remember seeing the physics tech demo, but I certainly was absolutely awestruck by Half-Life 2. I remember, was that 2004, maybe? And right about that time, I was getting extremely hyped for The Elder Scrolls for Oblivion. Morrowind is still my favorite game of all time. I don't remember when Oblivion came out. Was it 2006? I'm gonna guess, but Half-Life came out, and that was such a good game. The story was good in that game, but they had the Havoc physics engine for Fallout, and they used the Havoc physics engine for Oblivion, and I was so hyped for that game. And Eric says, other question, I've started using Visual Studio, but I'm not married to it. Is VS Code better? No, nothing is better or worse than anything else. It all completely depends on what you're doing. That being said, I prefer VS Code for C++ because it's lighter and thinner. Also, VS or Visual Studio takes forever to run, but the bigger problem with Visual Studio for learners, myself included, is Visual Studio abstracts away a lot of the glue that holds things together. And they hide it behind weird config files in the VC Barzal batch file that I didn't know existed until last week. And VS Code, you have to set everything. It's like config as code. Like you have to know where your compiler is, so you actually specify the path to your compiler, and you download only the extensions that you need. So you need to know what you need first, and I prefer that. Just use Microsoft Word as your editor. You could. You know what's frickin' becoming? Microsoft Word is stupid Notepad. I frickin' hate what they've done to Notepad. The thing that truly makes me mad is, okay, watch this. This is so stupid. Well, actually, that they didn't do it. Oops. But for whatever reason, Notepad persists my information now. So if I restart my computer and then I open it up, I just have 40 Notepad instances with 40 tabs. And that time it didn't, and I feel like it doesn't normally do this. Maybe it does. I don't know. Of course, when I'm trying to show people why I hate Notepad, it acts sanely. And CSRT is our own thing, yeah. It's like our debug assert. Okay. So what were we doing here? So if ECS dot contains, and then what is the syntax for that? Contains skinned mesh and parent entity. Is that right? That took a, what's it fake? Oh, yeah. Okay. Parent entity is just a simple handle. It doesn't ever need to be passed by pointer or reference. It's just a raw handle. Yeah, NCSRT is like our debug, so it'll only throw in a dev build. And it's just nice to have throw a little error. Although I need to fix, this has happened to me before, but now on this computer especially, when I do hit an assertion, it doesn't actually show it on the screen, it just crashes. And this has happened every once in a while, and sometimes you fix it and now it's back. It's a real pain in the butt. All right, bye, Dangerous Bob. Thanks for joining. Oh, welcome to the stream, Davian Vods. It's in the settings to remove this. I had to remove it yesterday. My notepad crashed while I was writing something in Fortnite. I dumped the crash file and even it did it out of spite, I guarantee you. Hey, welcome to the stream, Dean Driven Men. I'm new around here. How long have you been programming for? Yaniv! Welcome back. Okay, sorry. I should have a warning for people that are joining late. Today especially, my brain is just very scatterbrained, and normally I'm pretty jump aroundy, but today I even told my husband specifically today that there's just no hope for me trying to hold a conversation or just stay focused on anything. I don't really know why. Oh, and how long have I been programming for? Okay, let's see. I am 34. I graduated college in 2015. What date? It's 2026 now. And then I started programming professionally in 2013 as an intern. It was like I think they call it an externship. We didn't call it that, but it was 20 hours during the week and then 40 hours during the summer. So it was year round. And I did that for 2 years, just straight through for one company. So it has professionally been 13 years minus 2 because I took 2 years off to raise my son when he was born through the baby years. So I've been programming professionally for like 11 years. And thank you. Thank you. But then I've been like dicking around with code for a few years before then. I've wanted to develop video games literally my entire life. It's been my identity. But I've wasted a lot of time not developing video games. Yeah, W Mom arc. Yep, I agree, Monsi. Yeah, it's actually my son's 4th birthday tomorrow, you guys. I'm super excited. We got him this little like a balance bike, but it has a throttle on it and can go up to 10 miles an hour. We're very excited. Yaniv, how have you been? It has, yeah, back in the good old days, I was streaming mostly irregularly, and then I took almost like 10 months off. It ended sometime around July of last year, or August maybe of last year. Took a really long time off, and then now I'm back with a vengeance, and I'm trying to stream twice a week. The game is going so well. I'm really excited about it. And did I happen to see the gameplay of GTA 6? Did I or no, I saw that there was going to be gameplay footage of GTA 6, but I did recently watch the Fable gameplay, and that was really, really cool. Currently third year in university with a couple internships under my belt. I hope to get really good like you. Thank you. I only feel imposter syndrome when you say that. I have a lot to learn. I frequently have to look up how to do templates in C++, but I appreciate it. The real advice that I can give to anyone starting out is find someone that knows is better than you at something, and just hang around them. Oh no. We're wanting to buy the book on programming at a Scholastic book fair, and I asked my parents for help, but they were muggles and I just threw it away. That sucks. Yeah. I think I do remember the first programming book I ever bought was Making Games with ActionScript. And I did make the tutorial game with ActionScript. And then I decided that that was not the road, and then we started learning Python after that. Okay, so, oh, that did compile nice. So if there's a skinned mesh, let's do, I want to do this actually and see assert that the ECS contains a skinned mesh. Yeah, so I'm just replacing this with something a little bit more concise. So I was using std find if, which would be a linear search through all of the entities in my pool to see which one of them was my skinned mesh, and that wasn't the way. Okay, but now see the sucker is, and this is why I don't like ranges very much, is I still now have to get the skinned mesh. Oh, okay, maybe I don't. Okay, so now let's go back to my checklist. Okay, we've done that. Validate that the skinned mesh has a bone with the given bone name. So now I have to remember how, and maybe there's more to do here, because we need the skeletal animation subsystem has a link now. I did that earlier today to get a given final animation state transform of a bone, given the bone name. But I don't know if I have a good way of linking the skinned mesh with the bones it has. So we'll find that out. I have a 15-month-old? Oh, that's amazing. Teach him. Yeah, I want to teach my son Scratch too. Actually, I'm going to pump my friend's thing. Actually, okay, I'm not, because he made this with his family. I'm going to ask him. If he wants me to pump his thing, if he's comfortable with that, and then if he says yes, I will do it next stream. But I have a friend that has always been crazy good at game dev, and he is teaching his children how to AI code. They're all really young too, and so he made a website where they're just like, they designed the game, and then he helps them use AI to prompt AI correctly to build the game, and then they host it. Not starting with an assembly, no. Python is great for doing Python things. Use a Van Ermdy Boas tree. What's that? And question, I prefer OOP or ECS. I have no preference, and it totally depends on what I'm doing. Although my brain, like when it comes to even like like data-driven design and all of that, my brain gets excited about it, but like it naturally falls into an oop shape just because of college and like all the years of writing SaaS products. Oh, so Monsi's asking, what is ECS? And ECS is, if I'm understanding Justin's question correctly, ECS is Entity Component System, and it's just a different way of modeling relationships between objects or relationships between things, systems maybe. So like I can do a little example. Oop would be, I have a character class, and then let's say like I have a knight that is a character, and then like maybe if we're doing like by composition, the knight has like, if I'm creating a knight, let's write this a little bit more cleanly. The knight might have like a, oh gosh. So then I might have a weapon. So it can hold like the interface or base class for a weapon. Left hand and weapon right hand. And so you're kind of like you're encapsulating these ideas into actual classes, and those classes, like, I guess I'm terrible at explaining OOP, but it kind of nests, whereas an ECS is like I'm going to have an array. I'm going to have an array of structs, and it's going to be like maybe weapons. And then you can have like weapon 1, weapon 2, weapon 3, weapon 4. And then you have like an array of, well, maybe we'll do, let's see what else we could map here. Let's put like a int health. And so if you wanted like to an example of using this, you could say like Sir Xavier knight, and then Sir Xavier dot left hand equals sword, which is a weapon under the hood. So then here, then you'd have like health stats, and so these are components, and then they're actually stored contiguously. So like health 1, health 2 for each of your characters, health 3, and then you have this idea of entities, and then like an entity would have would just have like typically an ID into the, or an index into the array. So like weapon 1 index. That's my very rushed and mid example of ECS versus OOP. Okay, so we have validated that there is a BoneSnapper component. Wait, or a skin mesh component. Now, what do we want to do? Validate the skin meshes. Oh yeah, that's what we were doing. So here we want to do animation subsystem subsystem. So my BoneSnapper system has a reference to the skeletal animations subsystem. And then private system. Crank Interactive, you made it! Yeah, I'm glad you made it. Why don't you... Oh, yeah, okay. So this is a beginner C++ 101. So this is really interesting to me. This has tripped me up for a very long time. Who can find the bug with this code? So my BoneSnapper subsystem is taking in a skeletal animation subsystem class. It's a base class, but that's not related to the bug, by constref. And then this BoneSnapper subsystem class holds an iSkeletal animation subsystem object as a private member. So why does this assignment give me the red squiggle? And what is this nebulous, the function blah, 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 cannot be referenced. It is a deleted function. Well, what it's telling me is that you are trying to copy the skeletal animation subsystem into this private member variable. And if you look at the skeletal animation subsystem, you cannot, because there's no copy constructor. And the problem that I made here was I don't actually want a copy of the skeletal animation subsystem here. I want a const ref to the skeletal animation subsystem. That is a mistake I make quite frequently. Yeah, Mika sees the bug. Yikes. All right. So now we have our skeletal animation subsystem. So I'm on the step now where I'm going to try to get... So I have the bone name, but how do I use that? How do I disambiguate the bone name? If there are two, I need to link it to the skinned mesh, and I don't know that I have... Yeah, I'm gonna have to go through the animation controller. I don't have this hookup yet to get the rig, because there might... Well, there might be. Let's see. Yeah, this is a bummer, you guys. I don't have a way to get my rig out of my skinned mesh. Maybe, how could I not? How could I possibly not? Let's go back to animation subsystem here. Okay, we get the animations from the state orchestrator here. Yeah, I agree. Bickering about C++ is very fun for me to enjoy people doing. Okay, this is a bummer because, so let's think through the problem here. The skeletal animation subsystem has a method that I just made called get animated bone by bone name. Oh, this is already, there's a bug lying in wait here because this doesn't disambiguate. It's going to find the first. And if I pick root as my bone name, I'm screwed. So the way that I made use of my bone cache, and the way our skeletal animation works is we go animation by animation. So for the first animation, we're going to grab all your bones in whatever order I asked him to spit them out in, and we're going to preserve that order, and we're going to do all of our calculations, and then put all this giant vector of animated transform matrices. We're just going to shove that onto the GPU. And then we're going to move on to the next animation. But, so what I thought is, okay, well, what I need is I need to get that bone transform by bone name. But if I have 10 skinned meshes, all with a root bone, which is a very likely case, this is not going to work. So I need to also put the bone name in there, or the animation name in there, which is really abusing the hell out of the bone cache class. Because this is just supposed to be a staging buffer that just maps to the GPU. But it's the one place here where we do anything with the final animated transform, and specifically we do it per frame, which is nice. This stream should be called the Bone Dome. I agree. Future Untold. Hey guys, welcome. How are you? Never heard the word bones so many times in the stream. I'll buckle up because we're gonna keep talking bones all night. Maybe, but I'm getting to see, this is the frustration thing. I'm getting very disheartened because adding, this is how you know you screw the pooch with an initial implementation. If trying to adjust it in any way is nigh impossible, then you probably have done it poorly. And so we calculate all the animation CPU side, which I would eventually like to move to GPU side calculation, but the real point is that we want to be as efficient as possible, so we're storing all of the matrices in one contiguous lump. And we aren't storing the mapping between the skinned mesh and the bones it has. Unless, okay, so wait a minute though, because, oh, that's so gross. I could build into the key, because I think at the time that I put this in here, what the skinned mesh ID is, but, and we're going to run this every frame. That's going to be disgusting to do that. Right, shovelry up. Same. Just got out of church, nice. Oh. This is okay, so let's just dive in there and figure out what we can grab. So okay, question for myself, for my last June self, how does the animation grab the bones out of the skin mesh anyway? Let's remember how this works. This is just for the animation graph. And that's all the skin mesh has. Ooh. And we don't even require an animation on construction time. Okay, so that means in the skeletal animation subsystem, we have to be grabbing the skin meshes then. Yeah, okay. Let's look here. Okay, so we're going to grab all the skin meshes. And what do we do here with the pool? Okay, we just clear it, that's fine. And going back to update. But I had mentioned that you guys are not going to like my current idea to cache the final animated transform. And we were already caching it, so that's fine. But what we weren't caching was the relationship between the bone name and the bone. So what I've done is this is really gross. So this is make it work first and then make it nice later. I've added a second out param, or actually a first out param here. So we have this is so gross. Don't do this. But we're already out returning a span of bone data. And now we are also returning by out param the name of the bones, which is in lockstep with this span. So that when we go back to the subsystem, we can pass this vector of strings by reference. Ugh. And then we can now have a lockstep vector of final animated bone transforms and bone names. And then we cache that in our temporary bone cache. Just so horrible. A cache full of bones. There's bone caches too. Yeah, there's so many bones. Corze Warrior says, keep it up, bro. This is cool ass shit. Thank you, Corze Warrior. Welcome to the stream. What kind of clues in your code base? Okay, what am I looking for? I'm looking for how does the skeletal animation subsystem grab the bone data out of the skinned mesh, because that's exactly what I need to do. Because I need a way, right? Bone name alone isn't enough to disambiguate the animated bone. So there, I mean, if you think about like 3 animations, or 3 rigs. So I have 3 different skin meshes. Each one of them has a separate rig. They're very likely all have a bone called root bone. So if I'm using root bone as the snapper with the code as I've written it this morning, we're going to come in here and where's my BoneSnapper? I'm just going to pass in the skin mesh by name and then the bone name. But the way that I wrote this caching, we're just going to grab the first, I don't even have this code written yet, but it's not going to work because of the way I've stored it. We would grab the first instance of root and get that animated transform, but it could be the wrong entity's root bone. So I need to find a way to identify the mesh, the skinned mesh, to tie the bone with the skinned mesh / entity that it belongs to. That's what I'm digging for hints on right now. Hi, Arpit Dakad. Welcome to the stream. Someone who know how many years of experience she has. We were just talking about this. 11 professionally and slightly more unprofessionally. Redbone by Childish Gambino is a great song. It makes me want to sit on my TV and watch my couch. I love Redbone. That's a good song. I agree. Okay, so what we were looking at was the update function in this. Okay, here. So state orchestrator. So the animation state orchestrator, I think that's where we want to look. No, it's not. Okay, so this is iterating through our skin meshes. Maybe it is, okay. Add animation. What's the context for the mesh? Mesh instance context. Oh, yes. Bone data handle. That's what I need. I am so good at following my own code clues. Okay, so let's follow that again. So the orchestrator, or the subsystem calls state orchestrator transition. Then, so meshes have a context. I need to figure out when that gets populated because I don't need to go through the orchestrator. And then we just look to see, okay, and we will know that the storage will have the rig because we've already run through the animation. We are enforcing that the BoneSnapper subsystem runs after animations have been run. Yeah, you're welcome. Mika's gonna not implement it yet, but is thinking of making a const expression literal hash that would generate a hash value from a string. That would be very useful to have. I think we have what is it? F1 L E. What is it? Cal wrote this. FNVA hash. Oh goodness. I hate having to string search for things. I need to get my IntelliSense fixed and figure out is there a good like a good plugin for VS Code that allows me to, if I F12 here, actually go to the references instead of just doing a worse string search that takes forever and doesn't work. But yeah, we can use this guy if I need a string hash, which I do make use of sometimes. And I think I probably will for when I do land on a solution. But first I need to figure out how to get the ID of the skinned mesh of the rig. I'm going to replace AI. You know, I don't think so. I think I think we're all doomed. But as far as the need for software engineers, I think even the need for like people that are at the top of their field will be irrelevant or will not exist in like 3 years. But what I'm banking on is that the more we pivot towards AI, the more we're going to need something written by hand shoddily, but with a tremendous amount of dedication and love and human connection. Okay, so tracking this through, let's go back in here. Okay, so we have the mesh instance context, and we check to see if we have a rig for that, so when we upload the animation, we save the rig to bone storage. I remember that. And computers entities that will have animations. Okay, let's look at this mesh context class and okay. Mesh base is going to construct the context. I don't see where we're setting though bone data handle. Complort says, everyone on YouTube is slot coding real coder in the wild. There, I am a real coder in the wild, but the pros and cons of that are that my beloved and loyal fans get to watch me work on something for what probably would take me like 2 hours or 3 hours. Now I probably have like 2 hours left, but extend indefinitely across like 4 streams because I chat and get distracted. But, you know, I am really enjoying chatting with you guys, and also it's super cool to have like a video like a video history chronicling my process, because I was looking at some of my older videos, even from last year, but also just the ones I started again a month ago or 2 months ago. And I'm making some progress. We are inching along, but we are actually like, we have a reasonable clip. I'm proud of myself. Mika says, one is a wide I'm going headfirst in AI, but realizing quickly AI is not here and probably would not be here for a long time. Yeah. I'm hoping that being a good enough coder as a chemical engineer will give me an edge over other chemies, because AI hasn't entirely broken into the heavy industry just yet. It's starting to. Oh, that's scary. I agree, Polyjosu. We don't want to give the AI chemicals. Eric Anderson, it's up to you to stop the chemical engineers from giving AI chemicals. That's a terrifying prospect. Based on just... Oh, actually, no, never mind. I'm gonna keep my thoughts about the current state of the industry to myself for the time being, while I remain employed. All right. Well, I do have to go here, but the mission continues. Mission number 1. Where's my to-do here? You know, really? Okay, so validate the skin to match has the bone with the given bone name. It has like an addendum that we're actually working on right now, which is validate or create wiring between skin mesh and ID and bone ID. So I'll be slowly making my way down this to-do list, but even if it takes a week, it'll be super worth it, because the amount of time I was going to have to spend baking every single one of my weapon assets is an independent animation, because it's not just the idle, it's going to be the cast or the swing. So I'd have to do it 3 or 4 times minimum for like 30 assets. That's a ridiculous amount of work that I just don't have to do once this is done, so it's very worth it. But thank you all very much for joining. I will definitely not. Sometimes I'm hopefully optimistic about streaming over the weekend. Absolutely not streaming this weekend. It's my son's 4th birthday tomorrow, and then his birthday party on Sunday. So I'm going to be unplugging, swimming at the beach, eating birthday cake. But I will for sure see you guys all Tuesday, and heaven help me, I should be done with this. We'll see. It was very fun hanging out. Thanks, guys. I'll